So I'm here with Charles Turner, who is one of my coaches and the assistant instructor at East Texas Historical Fencing, along with Michael Sims, who's the head instructor, and we're just gonna do a little interview with one of my coaches. So first of all, Charles, how long have you been fencing?
I've been fencing since 2015. I was 20 years old when I started. I took a little break in the middle, so all in all, within those 9 years, I've been fencing actively for about 6 of those.
And when you say you've been fencing for that long, is it once a week, twice a week?
So nowadays, we have class 5 nights a week, and I'm here for 4 of them. So I get roughly about 12 to 14 hours of fencing a week.
That's a lot. That's quite a bit. What is it about fencing that allows you to put that much time into it? What keeps you going?
It's because I'm obsessed, honestly. There's nothing in my life do I care about, do I not have the desire to become an expert on. And all day long, I talk to people about fencing. I'm in multiple fencing group chats. I watch fencing footage. I think about buying fencing gear, more swords. I talk to my instructor about fencing all day long. I talk to my wife about fencing. It is truly an obsession. It is probably one of the most important things in my life.
I kind of find that to be the case with most of my fencing friends, and I think that that's kind of a necessary component for someone if they're going to be great.
Absolutely. So the thing is like I can say that and you don't even think it's weird.
No, I think I'm the same way.
Yeah, my instructor wouldn't think it was weird, and anybody who's like a real gangster in fencing doesn't think that that's weird at all.
I mean, that's not to say that that's the only way you can fence.
No, it's not the only way, but to tell somebody that like this consumes my life and I do it for 20 hours a week, that's not a weird thing in this.
No, it's not. I think you find that with a lot of different sports and a lot of different pursuits like this. So what is it that got you started in fencing? What started this obsession?
So just like everybody else, sword movies. And Disney released a Musketeer film in 1993 starring Kiefer Sutherland as Athos and a couple of other famous actors. And that and The Mask of Zorro, when I was young, growing up in the early 2000s and late 90s, those were awesome sword films to me. And I swung sticks around in the woods until I could swing steel around in a gym.
Just like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's the same story with everybody.
Yeah, dude.
The same way.
Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings.
Star Wars for me.
Yeah, Star Wars, Warhammer. The joke we make all the time is that everybody loves Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, and Warhammer 40K, and it's usually pick 2. Most of the time, it's all 3.
All of those.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. So what is it that you specialize in when it comes to fencing?
So I consider myself a rapier fencer more than anything else, but we teach longsword, we teach Italian longsword early period, and we teach Venetian and late period rapier here. And David does our saber classes. We dabble in other things. I own a buckler. I wouldn't call myself a sword and buckler fencer. I own a few small swords, but I wouldn't consider myself a small sword fencer. But I have competed in both of those things, and they're fine. They're just not what I focus on.
Do you find that most people have a specialization with one or a few weapons?
Yeah, so HEMA's unique in the sense that a lot of people like to kind of multi-class in regards to what they're good at. Now, at the very tippy top, most of the time, with only a few exceptions, most people kind of focus on the one. If you look at modern Olympic fencing, very rarely will you find some of the top saber fencer who is also a pretty proficient épée fencer. Most of the time they focus their life on the one thing. But HEMA is unique in the sense that you can split your focus rapier and longsword, for instance, and still be quite good in a heavy hitter competitor at both.
I find that with HEMA, more so than with Olympic weapons, there's a little bit of bleed over between the disciplines, and it tends to help each other.
Yeah, so because almost every discipline within HEMA is a full body target, we don't operate under right of way and we don't operate under priority, or some rule sets do, but for the most part, full body target, full body scoring. A lot of it's kind of, if you're good at saber, you can probably translate the messer. If you're good at messer, you can translate that to longsword. If you're good at longsword, you translate that to rapier, and the cycle goes on and on.
What would you say is your favorite aspect of fencing? What is it about fencing that can keep your focus and that you find the most enjoyable?
It's strategy. One person versus another, where it's one person's idea of what is and what isn't versus another person's idea of what is and what isn't. And in a constant metaphysical battle between those two things, to me, that's a never-ending form of stimulation.
So I find the same thing, that testing myself against another person and seeing if I can have a better strategy, be more athletic, et cetera, et cetera. And I find that, and tell me if you think this is true, there are kind of two different schools or two different things people are interested in. There's the competitive side, the strategy, the fighting, and then there's the historical and the source and the reenactment and recreation side.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think those things are mutually exclusive, but I love the history and the sources as much as the next guy, and a lot of people care more about the reconstructive archaeology side than they do the competition side. And there's extremes on both sides. There's people who think competition is bad and it takes away from the art, and then there's people who compete who think that the art is a waste of their time. And I think that the answer with most things is it's kind of somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. I don't think that you can be a top tier fencer without knowing something about the sources, and I don't think that you can truly understand the sources without at least trying to achieve some sort of physical mastery with the sword itself.
I think that's a pretty good observation. So to close out the interview, I want you to talk about your school. What do you guys focus on teaching? Who should come and fence with you guys, and where you're located?
So we're in Tyler, Texas, right off of I-20. We're about 2 hours east of Dallas, 2 hours west of Shreveport. And we're the only school in the area. You have to drive to Dallas or Shreveport or Houston to find another one. And what we focus on here is mostly Italian fencing. We're not source dogmatic where we shun German or French sources, but we understand the Italian pedagogy better here, and that's what we choose to teach. We do classes on Monday, Thursday, Friday night, Tuesday night, and Saturday morning. You're welcome to come out at any one of those times. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, we have a YouTube channel where you can message us on any of those. And you can email us at our website. You can just type in East Texas Historical Fencing, and it'll come straight to our website, and we'll answer any questions that you have about coming to try us out.
What kind of person is the right person for fencing?
Anybody who wants to try fencing, that's the right person. The right person is the person who wants to be here.
That's great. That's actually a really good answer. So thank you, Charles. I really appreciate your time, and you'll see him around in some other videos. So.
Of course.